Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everybody.
Sorry, I forgot to shut off the sound on my computer.
Well, there you go. Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everybody. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Tanya.
And we have a few more upgrades that we've put into this evening's stream. So let us know what you think in the comments. We have 2 new cameras that we bought because Tanya was tired of hearing me swear and say lots of unparliamentary things off camera about our other cameras.
Yeah, so we had one, we called it the main camera because it was bigger and more expensive. And that one, it also acts as a webcam, which is why we're able to do live streams. The other 2, they only acted as webcams through some like jerry-rigging and also only when disconnected from the computer. So like we had to, disconnected from the power supply. So whatever battery it had, that was it. And by the end of the live streams, they were both shutting off. And we were just getting tired of having to deal with the jerry-rigging and the shutting off. So we just went and bought some more cameras.
Well, the main reason is the center camera that we've had it's classed as a professional camera, whereas the other 2 cameras were consumer grade cameras. So I guess they're just not meant to live stream on Northern Perspective. So anyhow, so let's just go through the ground rules. But before we get there, just a reminder that we do have Barnaby and Jester in the chat. They are both our wonderful moderators. So be nice to them. Ground rules.
Ground rules. Number 1, please respect each other in the chat and the platform and everybody on the platform. That includes the people we're talking about. Number 2, no soliciting, selling, or spamming in the chat. And number 3, please keep it parliamentary. No dirty language. We have gotten great feedback that people like to show their kids Northern Perspective so that they can learn about Parliament. So we just ask that you please keep it parliamentary. And that doesn't include when Khalid decided to drop the C-bomb twice.
Well,
so no C-bombs, please.
Luckily, we recorded that off live stream, so that was good.
And we did bleep it.
And we did bleep it, yeah. So, but yeah, what a week. It was like misinformation week.
Yeah.
There was a lot misinformation and I say disinformation going around that even continued after we put out our merger video, but we can only control what we put out at Northern Perspective. So but thank you for all the feedback, everybody. And I must say it is great running into people, as we say, out in the wild. We met another person yesterday just randomly in the middle of the night, which was kind of interesting.
So here's the story. What had happened was the city of Port Colborne does Canal Days every year, and they often have a concert series. And this was our first time trying to get down to the concert series because my favorite band was playing, Billy Talent. And so our son loves Billy Talent probably just as much as I do. And it was kind of like a last minute thing. My sister had kind of told me, like, hey, did you know Billy Talent was playing? Because she knows they're my favorite. And we decided, okay, let's go down. Let's go for the drive. It was about an hour. And we got there. And just as we were like walking, because we had to park like in the middle of nowhere and then walk to the venue. And just as we're getting there, there was a police officer who was directing traffic in the middle of an intersection. And I overhear her say that they were shutting down the concert because of a riot. So here we are with our 8-year-old son on this street corner in this town that we don't really know. And I'm trying to tell him, like, I'm really sorry, buddy. We've got to turn around and go home. And somebody there goes, hey, are you guys Northern Perspective? And I was like, yeah. And it turned out his name was Paul, and Paul introduced us to his family and his dog. And we all kind of figured out what to do together because he was there for the concert too with his family, and we were there with our family. And unfortunately, we weren't able to go to the concert. I guess what had happened was there was a riot, and they were able to get it under control. And sometime later, the band did go on to play. But it was quite late at night, and we had left by that point because our son probably would have fallen asleep.
Yeah, an 8-year-old staying up for a band that's starting to play at 10:30 is not really going to work.
Yeah, so. Probably not a good idea. But he handled the situation pretty well for an 8-year-old. He was super psyched that we were going to see Billy Talent, and when we got there, we had to tell him, we're sorry, buddy, we have to turn around and go home. But he got some ice cream, and he was very happy.
There you go. Okay, so we're going to check out the pre and post chat activity. Waifu for Life with a $2 super chat with a real slim Randy, please stand up. That is the magic question. Rick Liard with a $5 super chat. Actually, before I read his super chat, I was thrilled to read in the comments that Rick actually told me that I said his name correctly, not like a typical English-speaking person. So I was very happy about that. Future New Brunswick Avenir seem to be promoting actual voter representation instead of party politics for upcoming New Brunswick election. Can you do a video on them? It's going to be tough to fit that in, Rick, with everything that is going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Because we have been busy planning some interviews as well. We don't typically like to announce the interviews unless we have like footage in hand, because in the political realm, anything can happen. Things get canceled, things get moved around, pushed out, etc. But we have been working on trying to get some interviews. Yeah,
I really want to give you some tidbits, but I've been told not to. So just because I'm excited about them, but. If everything goes as planned this week, there's going to be a really, 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 really important video that we're going to be dropping, and you will be able to tell the difference. So stay tuned on that. And just meeting Nicole with a member comment. Member for 7 months. Good evening, all. Hit the like button on your way in. Yes, please. Ring that doorbell. We are 1,000 likes behind, everybody. So I will leave it up to NP Nation to make sure that everybody goes back to the front door and rings that doorbell. Every like that you press on the way in tells YouTube that this stream should be put up higher in the priority of the algorithm and presented to more people. So the more likes it has, the more YouTube is likely to suggest this to other like-minded people. So please do that. That helps us out at Northern Perspective a lot. Steffo, member for 6 months. After this last week, I feel that we've entered the twilight zone. Yeah. But as we said last week, don't believe everything you read or hear on the internet. Trish Pearl with a $5 super chat. If there is no spamming foes, that mean I can't eat my spam sandwich. LOL. Hit that like button, everybody. Thank you so much for that, Trish. So, okay. Let's just get to what is going to be coming this week and what we can tell you. So Wednesday evening, we are going to be doing a very special live stream on ArriveCan, and one of the people that we've been waiting to arrive at committee is allegedly finally coming, and that is Miss Diane Daly. This is the person who Bottler was interacting with via email when they were trying to, get, an actual contract with the government. This is the person that Cameron McDonald allegedly was using to handle all of the purchasing for ArriveCan and Bottler and the rest of it. And this is who Christian Firth pointed at when he was standing at the bar of the House saying, "She's the lady, Your Honor." So we are very, very interested to see what Diane Daly has to say at committee, and that's going to happen on Wednesday. So it should be a very interesting evening of testimony. So
now we do have a prior commitment Wednesday evening, so we don't know exactly what time the live stream is going to be. Probably 9 or 9:30. If we have to push it back any further than that, we'll let you guys know on the community page. I don't imagine that we will, but again, it's politics. You never know.
But just with that prior commitment, we will tentatively set it to start at 9:30, just to give us that extra little bit of time. And
if it'll be later than that, we'll let you know.
We'll see what happens. So, and then there's supposed to be another ArriveCan committee meeting on the Thursday. So far, it looks like it's the usual customers, Karen Hogan, Auditor General, and those people again. So I imagine that is to kind of set us to rebut any testimony that Diane Daly gives on Thursday, or to link it up, depending on what she says. Who knows? So it's going to be a real interesting week, that's for sure. So potentially 2 live streams in the middle of August on ArriveCan. Doesn't get any better than that, folks. So thank you all for being here. I did see that it was somebody's first live stream after their son had been, I think, getting them or telling them about this for months. So welcome to all of you. And question if that's PM? Yes. All of our live streams are in the PM, late at night after our son goes to bed. When he goes back to school, all bets are off. But as of right now, this is the only time that we can do it.
I am curious. I'm going to set out a poll to see if anybody else is a first timer.
Yeah, that's
so just
actually
give me a
really
second
interesting
to spin that up.
So, and for all the first timers, I just have a question.
What is it that you do?
That's your question. So while that's running,
There we go.
let's see, what else do we have coming up? God, there's a lot. There's so
There
much
is a lot.
coming.
We have been chasing a lot of interviews this past week. So
And for anyone who hasn't watched it, I highly recommend you watch our video with Derek Gladue. We dropped that earlier today. That was a really good chat with him. So he's the vice president of the Electoral District Association of NDG Westmount, or Notre Dame de Grace. Just so everybody knows, anybody who is on a electoral district association executive, whether they're the president, vice president, treasurer, whatever,
or the board,
none of them are paid. They are all volunteers. They all put in a lot of extra hours, extra time, and that's to help out the party and the candidate as they, move towards the election period. And that's if, it's easy if there's an incumbent MP. There's a lot more activities that go on, like the selection of a candidate, the voting process, all of that with the EDA. As it leads up to candidate selection. So go and take a look at that. It's there's a lot of discussion of what that process is, how it happens, and
what it's like on the other side, like what it's like on the office side, if you will.
So let's see. We have 9%. Oh, 9%. First, so almost 10% of the people. Excellent. So that's kind of neat. All right. Well,
let that run for a few more minutes and then we'll shut it down.
Let's get into tonight's topic. Oh, Randy. Randy. First of all, this is bona fide British. I can't see the last.
Let me see if it's popped up.
I could go in a lot of different ways.
It hasn't popped up on my screen yet.
So,
Bonafide British Columbia, if I had to guess, but it hasn't popped up on my screen. We have
with a $28 super chat. Thanks for what you guys do. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep, Bonafide British Columbian. So in case you guys are wondering, like, why sometimes Ryan doesn't have the full name, his screen, the screen he's looking at only shows up to, I think it's about 20 characters. Anything above and beyond it, we have to wait for our bot to catch and put it in our Discord server for us so that we can see the full name. Because
YouTube's amazing.
Yeah, they cut off names.
So, trying to get around the transcription. Anyway, Randy Boissonnault. So, Randy, as some of you know, has been in some hot water because he was in office and then he wasn't in office. Magically started up a PPE supply company right before COVID, and then was elected in 2021 and then allegedly shut it down. But there seems to be a lot of questions, and inference is that he didn't shut it down. And then there was a bunch of text messages between some people referencing Randy, and there's not that many Randys that live in Edmonton, and there's not that many Randys that work in a 6-person company called GHI. That
I thought there was 120 something.
So Global News addresses that.
Oh, do they? See, Ryan did the researching for this episode, so I'm in the dark still.
So Randy Boissonnault was called to committee. He answered some questions. Stephen Anderson was called, and what a treat of a man that guy was, and decided to
dig his heels in instead of
spin a yarn.
Yeah.
And he originally told Global News, who was asking who that Randy was, oh, that's, it's a different Randy. So he told committee, no, he lied to Global News, and it's actually a completely different person. And the reason why he kept calling the person Randy was autocorrect 9 different times.
And the person on the other side knew exactly who he was talking about, despite the autocorrects.
Right. So, yeah. So some new information has come to light, which we're going to share tonight.
Before we continue, you missed a couple super chats. We have Jilly Beans with a $2 super chat. Thank you very much. It says, new graphic, thumbs up with ding dong.
Excellent.
And also Casper H, a member for 12 months. He's got the orange logo now, and it says, keep up the great work. Thank you. And then we have Jevan Gendro gifting 10 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much. If you've received one of those, please make sure you say thanks to Jevan. And we have, it's Rick Liard. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Okay. And with a member comment for 1 month, it says Randy when he identifies as male and Randy, i.e. when in drag.
There you go.
Nice. And then Georgia with a $5 super chat. It says slightly early. Congrats on the 90K. I'm going for an 8-kilometer walk. We'll listen on the way. Awesome.
Oh, now you've done it, Jarsha. We're gonna go all the way back down to 50K now because of you. Thanks a lot. Someone had to spoil it. Thanks.
It's a beautiful night for a walk, though.
It is. So, anyhow, and Charles Skinner comment section is off. Comment section actually isn't enabled until after the live stream is over.
Yeah.
So that's why you can't see it. Anyhow, we're going to show you 2 different videos. One is a summary of the events that happened a couple weeks ago, and then we're going to show you a video summarizing some of the new events, and then we're going to get into the monster of an article that Global dropped with a lot of new evidence. Waitful for Life with a $5 super chat. Oh, Randy, well, you came and you took without asking, and then you ran away. Oh, Randy. Okay, so here is video 1, folks. And for those of you that don't really know what this is about, this will help give you some context as well.
With regards to the infamous text message featured by a Global News story, this was an unfortunate autocorrect suggesting it was Randy.
This is Stephen Anderson, an Edmonton man who used to be business partners with Randy Boissonnault, Canada's employment minister. Together, they owned a medical supply business called Global Health Imports until about 2 weeks ago, when Boissonnault disposed of his shares. Anderson's here testifying before the Ethics Committee because text messages from 2022 show him talking about a business deal with someone named Randy.
So another text message from you says, sorry, I'm very confused. I updated Randy, Shauna, Felix, and our CFO.
Over the course of 3 days, Anderson mentions Randy several times in text messages obtained by Global News.
You expect us to believe that you autocorrected 8 times without correcting yourself, even once?
That is the truth, yes.
I don't think I want to get into asking you what you think an autocorrect is, but I can tell you that this isn't that. This isn't that. It was Randy Boissonnault.
Randy Boissonnault was not involved with our operation or in any business relation after September of 2021.
Well, your story doesn't add up.
Anderson admitted to lying to Global News about who the Randy in the text was, and he refused to say who it is. But he maintains it is not Boissonnault. And the ethics commissioner last month said his office won't be investigating the minister. In a statement, Randy Boissonnault said he was deeply troubled and disappointed by Anderson's testimony and reiterated that he has had no involvement in the company since he was re-elected in 2021.
All right.
All right, I saw we needed a little reminder about the rules, particularly rule number 1. Please be respectful. Again, we're here to address the things that people are doing. We're not making fun of them for their sexuality or otherwise. So please keep that in mind.
And on that note, I was going to reference that we did do a committee live stream on Stephen Anderson's testimony. It was a bit of a barn burner. So if you haven't seen that, I suggest you go and watch it. And it's revealing, to say the least. Before we show the next video, just want to catch up on a few of these. Canada, dropping 20 Northern Perspective gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Canada. Feels kind of weird saying that. Great name. And Karen Hathaway, welcome to NP Supporter. Thank you very much for signing on. Penny D with a $2 super chat. In Randy's defense, it was auto-correct. And Daniel T with a $2.79 super chat. Auto-correct, more like auto-corrupt. Yeah, that's a good one. Stephen C with a $5 super chat. First, it wasn't Randy. Then it was a different Randy. Then it was an autocorrect. Are we ever going to see liberals go to prison? At some point, you may see somebody go to prison. So. Listless Receptionist, good to see you with a $5 super chat. Mandy from Logistics again. I know who scrubbed the servers for a price. He talked to Diane. So. All right. So, without further ado, here is some information that has come to light.
We have been non-operational.
Stephen Anderson blames this. He told the Parliamentary Ethics Committee global health imports shut down after a fire was set at its Edmonton warehouse in 2022. Police investigated but did not charge anyone.
There has been no payments since 2022, since the incident that occurred in Edmonton.
Because there's been no business?
The business hasn't been operating since 2022.
But that statement and others he made about GHI, the company he co-owned with Employment Minister Randy Boissonnault until last month, contradict public records. Global News found evidence the company continued to buy and sell medical supplies after the fire and bid on government contracts. Anyone who deliberately attempts to mislead a committee could be held in contempt of Parliament.
This is the type of person that Justin Trudeau's employment minister chose to associate himself with, and only looked to distance himself once that relationship became public, and it is a commentary on his poor judgment.
In June, Global News first reported on texts Anderson sent in September that shows him consulting with someone named Randy. Boissonnault was tourism minister at the time. Ethics laws prohibit ministers from operating businesses. Global News has now obtained new texts from the same period that place someone named Randy in Vancouver when Boissonnault was there for a cabinet retreat. Across 2 days, Anderson mentions Randy 9 times in messages to a client.
Who was the Randy that was in Vancouver?
As I've told you, Mr. Chairman, Randy was not involved after September of 2021, and it was an autocorrect.
Barrett said Anderson failed to provide records by deadline, so the committee is preparing a report to be tabled in the fall.
We have a responsibility to hold all parties accountable for the veracity of the information they're providing.
Anderson did not respond to Global News' questions. In rare cases, the House can publicly discipline someone found in contempt, like with the ArriveCan scandal in April.
I admonish you.
Boissonnault's office denied he was involved in GHI business after he was re-elected and accused Anderson of using his name without his consent.
I've worked with the ethics commissioner, and twice now the commissioner has indicated that he has no concerns, and I'm not the person in those texts.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has not commented, despite calls for Boissonnault's removal from cabinet.
No comment is a strong comment.
Boissonnault has been called back to testify again when Parliament resumes in the fall. Nathaniel Dove, Global News.
SpaghettiOs. So he was not really telling the truth a lot. Just saying.
He was selective in his truth-telling, perhaps.
There's lies, and then there's lies. So I would love to see, Mr. Anderson called to the bar of the House and admonished by
That clip they played was like just so short and ridiculous.
I admonish you.
I guess that's all that there really was. But
I want to see them just give Larry Brock the speaker role just for 5 minutes so he can do the admonishing. Because I don't think he would even say I admonish you. He would say a lot more than that.
Or even Mr. D'Entremont. Chris D'Entremont, like he's an awesome speaker. He really should have gotten speaker, not Fergus. And I think he would just do an amazing job. He would have done an amazing job with Firth, and he would have done an amazing job with this guy, Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, that's right.
So, the big problem here is, and this is a big problem for Randy, the real Randy Boissonnault, is that this guy was his business partner. And there's all these text messages between Anderson and Randy, referencing Randy, that he's saying, oh, well, it really wasn't Randy. Well, it's really odd that this company that they co-owned up until recently, I think it was a month ago, where Boissonnault finally just surrendered all of his interest in the company, it was still making transactions. Yet Anderson is saying this company hasn't been operating since 2022? So for 2 years, you're seeing public record of this company bidding on contracts and making purchases. That sounds like operating to me. I know I've only been in the private sector for, I don't know, maybe around 20 years, but in my 20 years, I'm pretty sure that qualifies as operating. Just saying. Anyhow, let's get to some admin business before we get into the article. Jackie A., welcome to NP Supporter. Welcome aboard. Mike Hooge, watch every episode. Thank you both. Well, thank you very much for sticking with us for 5 months, Mike. And Duda with a $10 super chat, got my Northern Perspective hat and been wearing it at work so people from all over Canada, America, Europe, and Australia can see it and come to watch Northern Perspective. Awesome. Love it. And Richard Hepner with a $5 super chat, your private business matters not to me. Your character is what I judge. There you go. And that's exactly the way it should be. So good on you, Richard. Julie Beans with a $2 super chat. No answer is still an answer. Yes, it absolutely is. And sometimes silence is deafening. Casper H., good to see you around with 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you. If you've received one of those, give Casper a thank. Dudu with a $5 super chat. Anderson's testimony smelled fish. He kept changing his story and contradicting his own lies. Yes, he did. And autocorrects don't really work that way. And transcription member for 1 month, Stephen Urkel Anderson. Did I do that? Oh, I think that was Family Matters. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And or was that Stefan Urkel? And Daniel T with a $2.79 super chat. They are warming up at the Liberal bus. It's in idle right now, and it's just they're warming it up, getting ready to put her in reverse. Yeah,
they're waiting.
Randy's the next one. I don't know. It's going to be a fight between Randy and Freeland to see who
race to the bottom,
who avoids the bus first. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, I think Freeland's going to be done by the summer. Or when is the fall economic statement? Is it September or October?
Well, the fall economic statement isn't really voted until November, so...
Yeah, but she has to prepare it first.
Yeah, I think it's in November, so...
I think that she'll probably be gone before then, if I had to guess, because the spring budget went over so well. I don't think that Trudeau is going to want another budget-related item near Freeland.
And Mr. Excuses, welcome back to NP Supporter. And holy cow, Drew Hartland with a $100 super chat. Thank you very much. So much. Chris D'Entremont was the speaker at the time when a MP called out WEF in the House in February 2022, and MP was cut off in the middle of question, and they never went back to the MP. I have the video. It's out there to find, and it was covering up WEF influence in our federal government.
Interesting. If you let us know the date, it should be on Parleview, and we'll go take a look.
Yeah, there's a lot of different procedural reasons why that question could have been cut off, but if you have that, we'd be interested in taking a look. Okay, so we are now going to take a look at this monster of a Globe and Mail article, and they show some very interesting pieces of evidence as they've been digging on this. And although we don't really have a high opinion of mainstream media as a whole, there are these microcosms of very good journalism that we love to call out, because we want to make sure that we're giving credit where credit is due. And I think the two outlets that have, I'd say, done the most is probably Globe and Mail and Global News over the last year or so. So kudos to those two. Do more of that.
Well, and CTV is pretty good. I mean, we like Vashi.
True.
But,
well,
I always think the Globe and Mail is kind of like the most center out of all of them. I mean, no media source is going to be completely free from bias. Most of them are left-leaning. The National Post is one of the few that are right-leaning. But I think the Globe and Mail does a pretty good job of staying near the center.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, Global News. Okay. Liberal Cabinet Minister Randy Boissonnault's former business partner made several statements to the Parliamentary Ethics Committee that contradict public records obtained by Global News. Interviews, corporate records, and legal documents contradict some key facts of Stephen Anderson's July 17 testimony about Global Health Imports, or GHI, the company he co-owned with Boissonnault until last month. The statements include how many people GHI employed, this is what Tony was talking about earlier, and when it ceased operations. Committee members questioned Anderson on whether Boissonnault remained involved in the medical supply business after he joined cabinet, which would be in breach of federal ethics laws. Anderson denied Boissonnault was involved in the company and said autocorrect caused him to... It's hard for me to get through anything when he's still talking about that stupid autocorrect. Caused him to reference quote-unquote Randy 9 times in text messages to a buyer. He also admitted to lying to Global News about the identity of Randy, leaving some committee members wary of the truthfulness of his remarks. Quote, "No one at this committee believes you. Canadians don't believe you," end quote, Larry Brock said during the hearing. And you can definitely hear that in Larry Brock's voice if you read it again. Next.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm not looking at the right page.
So, if a person deliberately misleads the committee or fails to answer committee questions or provide documents, its members can report it to the House of Commons. MPs will then vote on whether to find a witness in contempt of Parliament. Conservative ethics critic Michael Barrett said the Global News findings further indicate Anderson, quote-unquote, isn't one to be believed. Barrett says, quote, "It tells us everything we need to know about the kind of company that Randy Boissonnault keeps," end quote, he said. Global News previously reported on texts Anderson sent to Malvina Gowie, principal of the Gowie Group, on September 8, 2022. Those messages showed him consulting someone named Randy on a business deal, and you can see those texts here. At the time the messages were sent, Boissonnault was Minister of Tourism and Associate Minister of Finance. He was a partner at GHI until September 2021, when he won back his Edmonton Centre seat. Boissonnault's office said he then resigned from the company. Ethics laws forbid office holders from operating or managing businesses while in office. New texts mention Randy 6 more times, as you can see here. In new text from September 6, 2022, obtained by Global News, Anderson mentions Randy 6 more times, bringing the total number of references to 9 across 2 days. Boissonnault, now Employment Minister, denies he is the Randy in the text messages and said he has no involvement in GHI since his re-election. The new texts reveal Anderson was updating quote-unquote Randy via alleged phone calls, texts, and emails about the status of the transaction between GHI and the Gowie Group, a California-based company. One text mentions quote-unquote Randy being involved in a partner role on the deal. Funny that Randy was the partner and he's being referenced as a partner role. It was during this line of questioning that Anderson made claims that contradict public records and Boissonnault's own statements. He stated that GHI had 121 employees. However, Boissonnault said in June when he was running the company, GHI was small. Just him, Anderson, and a few employees. Curtis James, the manager of a packaging distributing company in the adjoining warehouse complex that housed GHI until late 2022, scoffed at the number and said GHI had, quote, a half dozen employees at most, end quote. A LinkedIn search revealed fewer than 5 employees. Anderson also said the Gowie Group had a contract with both GHI and GHS. Court documents showed GHS did not enter into an agreement with the Gowie Group, only GHI did. In his sworn affidavit, Anderson said, quote, neither I nor GHS are party to those agreements. So, 121 down to 6.
That's
autocorrect?
That's quite the difference. I think you would know how many people work in your company. You know, I have family members who own their own companies that would be able to be like, oh yeah, I've got, 5 employees. I've got 50 employees. Like, they know the exact number.
So, 6 employees. How many Randys? Probably 1.
Well, isn't that what you said in committee? It was just the one?
Yeah. So
if out of 121, you only have 1 Randy, so definitely out of 6, you only have 1. Like, this is such a joke.
It's almost like saying, I'm from Toronto when I'm really from Paris. Oh, I made a mistake. Like, that's your 121 to 6. That's the magnitude of the difference in that. Anyway, let's continue. So this is one of the documents where it actually shows the agreement between GHI and the Gowie Group. And this was on the 7th day of September 2022. Continuing on. He told MPs GHI ceased operating and generating revenue after the company's warehouse was broken into and a fire was deliberately set on September 25th, 2022. Edmonton police investigated, but it was never solved. In response to a question from NDP MP Matthew Green about whether he still receives a salary or dividends, Anderson said, quote unquote, there have been no payments since September, since 2022, since the incident that occurred in Edmonton, end quote. Green asks, because there was no business? Anderson replies, the business hasn't been operating since 2022. Anderson also said this in his sworn affidavit in the fraud case against him. Quote, the fire resulted in the suspension of GHI's medical devices establishment license, crippled GHI's ability to operate its business. He's not really talking really well there. That's what his affidavit reads. But here's the interesting thing. We see GHI bidding on things. Why are they still bidding on things? That doesn't make any sense. Global News has found that GHI continued to operate and bid on municipal and provincial contracts after the fire. In October 2022, just 2 weeks after the blaze, GHI was awarded an $8.2 million deal to supply the Quebec government with disinfectant wipes. The next month, Anderson began purchasing wipes from an Edmonton-based medical supplier. Quebec's Government Acquisition Centre said, as of December 2023, only about $100,000 worth of wipes had been ordered from GHI. It notes that there have been no new sales this year. The supplier, Canada Medical, sued GHI in April of 2023 for around $65,000 in alleged unpaid bills. It won by default because GHI did not file a defense. However, Carla Roddick, Canada Medical's president, said they haven't recouped the money. Canada Medical is one of 6 companies that has taken legal action against Anderson and GHI since 2021. The company has lost 5 lawsuits by default and settled 1. Boissonnault is not named in any of the lawsuits. In his opening statement, Anderson said that every business of which he has been a part has been quote-unquote ethical, legal, and completely above board. Roddick was shocked. Quote, "It seems he doesn't understand what ethical means." She points to his claim GHI shut down in September 2022 despite public records to the contrary and the antics she said were used to delay paying her company. Anderson, quote, "consistently made excuses and lied to avoid any fiduciary responsibility," she said. GHI has also continued to bid on tenders across Canada. The company has a bid currently under evaluation on an Ontario government tender, and last year it bid on contracts to supply medical gloves to the City of Hamilton and respirators to the Yukon government. But, not operating. While Anderson's witness testimony before House committees was not under oath, quote, "lying before the committee is contempt," end quote, Tory ethics critic Barrett said. An honest mistake does not amount to contempt, but if a person's conduct obstructs or impedes the functions of government or the duties of MPs, or if their behavior is found to be offensive to the, quote, "authority of or dignity of the House," end quote, they can be found in contempt. Barrett said the committee is already preparing a report to the House because Anderson did not submit records requested by the committee by deadline. And that's happened twice. He's promised to submit documents twice, and he has not done so. Anderson was ordered to provide written responses to questions he refused to answer, including the name of the individual he was referring to in the texts, by Friday, July 19th at noon. The committee clerk did not respond to Global News' inquiry into whether he had submitted the name. My guess is probably not. Boissonnault has been called to testify before the committee again the week of September 16th. And that is the end of the Global News article.
And we've got just under 3,200 people watching, so thank you for joining us. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button for us. It helps push the stream out.
That's amazing. Thank you, everybody. So this is what's going on with Randy Boissonnault. Like, I don't see how he's going to get out of this.
Yeah, I think he's in trouble. And, I think Mr. Anderson's going to be in trouble, too, for lying to committee, or at least from what we can see, it seems like he's been lying to committee and also not presenting those documents. I mean, he's doing exactly what Firth was doing.
Well, and at least the NDP so far, knock on wood and anything else of wood-like nature, including Randy Boissonnault's head, they are not happy with this. And it sounds like they're going to stand alongside the Bloc and the Conservatives in their pursuit of this. And that's the thing about the NDP. When it comes to, they don't seem to have a problem in completely denigrating, two abuse victims. But when it comes to potential criminal behavior or breaches in ethics laws, that's where I guess they draw the line. And they don't want to be associated with the Liberals in that regard. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. And I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing Mr. Backrack or Mr. Green when it comes to the ArriveCan meeting this Wednesday and Thursday, because Green seems to have taken over all of the NDP representation at all of these committees recently. So I'm actually quite curious to see what's going to happen.
Has he been going in person, or is he doing a Zoom link?
He was remote, I think, at the last one, but I think he was in the room on July 17th for Stephen Anderson. So
okay, because my logic is that I don't know where the rest of the NDP are. I know that there's some way up north. I know there's a lot in BC. It's possible that it's because he's in Hamilton, which is only about 5 hours from Ottawa, that they're asking Green to go. Also, he's kind of a bulldog, right?
Yeah, he's the bulldog of the NDP. They don't really have anybody else. It's Matthew Green. That's all they have.
Yeah, so I mean that could be why he's close, and also he's feisty.
So, let's see. Goko Donnie with a $10 super chat. So far, NP merch has been seen in Temagami, Latchford, Earlton, North Bay, Cochrane, Timmins, Foylet, Chapleau, Hearst, and now Winnie the Poohville and the Geographic Centre of Ontario, ONR tomorrow. That's it?
Thank you. That's really cool.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And Mr. Wickenden, I assume you're listening right now. Your merch is on the way. I did send a reply to I think it was a member comment that you were asking about the status of it. So it is on the way. It's been shipped, so off you go.
Keep your eyes out.
Stacy, member comment for 12 months. Hello to NP community. Ryan and Tanya, thanks for your reporting. It keeps us well informed. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. And Wifey for Life for the $5 super chat. Hope Anderson kept some of those wipes. He's going to need it when Brock is done with Well played.
He is a really nice guy, though. Like, to be fair, Mr. Brock is really cool. But I would not want to get on his bad side.
Well, put it this way, if you don't break the law and if you don't act corrupt, he's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So just don't do any of those things and you're fine.
You'll be fine. That's right. I think we missed one from Diju. It says, "Oh, Randy, you're deep in it now. All thanks to autocorrect." Thank you for that.
Irish Miss with a $20 super chat. Considering how they met casually on a flight, I wonder how long it took to embark on this multi-million-dollar partnership. Were they perhaps more than business partners? Is that why trust came so readily? Who knows? All I know is that these guys don't seem to be the most honest of gentlemen, and it's starting to unravel at the seams, as is all of the liberal scandals right now. Grim Greybeard, welcome to NP supporter. Thank you very much. Brenda Weeb, member for 6 months. Why does the government need a middleman for the purchase of things like this? Well, they don't. That's the thing.
Isn't it supposed to be up to the agencies to purchase?
Well, they have their suppliers, and
because
typically when it comes to physical things that you buy, you typically go straight to a vendor. It's when you are looking for skills and work to be done that it's typically through the government goes through a third party.
Well, because what I mean, it's not like the prime minister or the ministers go directly to, somebody selling PPE in this case, right? Like Justin Trudeau wouldn't be like, "Hey, Mr. Anderson, I need a whole bunch of PPE. Can you hook us up?" It would be through whatever agency would be purchasing it, and they would go directly to Anderson.
Right. So the way it would work is, let's say, agency, the Canada Health or something like that, Health Canada, they need to buy a bunch of, protective equipment. They would then look at their vendor list on who is approved to sell to the government of Canada. They would put out their tender saying this is what we need, and then they would invite all of these different companies to potentially bid on it. They only need at least 2 or 3 to actually bid on it per the government rules, and then they're supposed to be able to justify why they're selecting one over the other. Sometimes it's cost, sometimes it's not, but they're supposed to be able to show it via a score as to why they chose one or the other.
Yeah, because if you need X item by Friday and they're the most expensive ones, but they're the only ones that can deliver it by Friday, well, you have to go with them.
Well, here's the other problem with the government purchasing process. If you are putting out a request for proposal, which is an RFP, that will take a minimum of probably 6 weeks. So if you need something by Friday, guess what's not happening? The only time that will happen is if you do what's called a sole source, meaning you say, "Hey, vendor A, here's my order. Go get it for me. I don't care how much it costs. Go get it for me. I need it now." And then what you would have to do is do what's called a sole source justification. So this is a process in the government where it's been referred to in the RiveCan. I can actually talk about this stuff now. Where you actually have to write a predefined government form that says, this is my justification for only using a sole vendor. That's a sole source. So a single source vendor, instead of going through the full request for proposal process. Because the whole idea of request for proposal is, A, you're supposed to be giving companies a fair shot at winning the government contract, and B, you're supposed to be demonstrating your fiduciary responsibility and, fiscal responsibility in terms of ensuring that you're spending these tax dollars wisely. It doesn't mean you're taking the cheapest contract, because sometimes, as we all know, cheap doesn't mean good. But there's been a rash of sole source justifications, as we've heard from the Auditor General. Something like 80% or something like that of the contracts in at least over COVID were sole source justifications, and that is ridiculous that that's the case. Continuing on, Grim Greybeard, welcome to NP supporter. Thank you very much. Jilly Beans with a $2 super chat. Randy busted nose. There you go, Randy.
Oh, man.
Randy V. I'm so sorry. With a $10 super chat. Randy Boissonnault should really be called Randy Poisonneau, as he and his liberal crooks for MPs continue to be a poisoning Canada. P.S. I'm rocking the NP gear in my government office. Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing. I appreciate that more than you know. Mr. Roscoe Pico, member for 8 months. Did GHI open business just before COVID dropped? It obviously knew what was planned. COVID was agenda, and the paperwork was already in place.
So COVID had shown up in Asia, in China specifically. I think it was in November of 2019. That's why it's COVID-19, not COVID 2020.
Yeah.
So... I mean, maybe they saw how fast it was spreading there and just assumed it would come to Canada.
Well, and just remember, so Randy lost the 2019 election. So it was after the election that he set up GHI, just in terms of a timeline here, right? So just recall, because I believe the 2019 election happened on schedule. So I think that happened in the fall of 2019.
Yeah, because they would have had a majority. So it would have been October of 2019.
So the new government wasn't even sworn in until, I think it's like January of 2020.
Yeah, because there's an important thing to remember, that after the election, there's like a transfer period between the government. So even though the new prime minister is elected or the new cabinet has been selected, there's a bit of time where the old cabinet is still there, where the old prime minister is still there, and they're kind of like passing the baton off to the new administration.
Now, what I will say is it likely that the government knew a lot more than the public as to what was coming in terms of COVID? Probably.
For sure. Yeah, I would say yes.
Probably. Would that have given Randy some potential inside knowledge as to what potentially might be coming to Canada? 100%. And then that may give him a lot of motivation to start up a PPE company in 2020 because he knew what was coming. So that, I will say, is plausible.
Yeah.
Mr. Roscoe Pico, member for 8 months. Did No, sorry. That's what I read. I don't have the ability to check those off. So, Richard Hepner with a $2 super chat. Character or lack of same shows. Yep. Peter H, member for 9 months. I trust your channel most because you don't use clickbait. You tell people the facts.
Thank you.
100%.
We try very hard to do that. It's I don't want to say difficult, pardon me, because it's always an easy choice for us to just tell the truth, but it's sometimes frustrating to see when misinformation or disinformation or straight up lies are being spread, and videos like that are doing better than, the rock solid truth that Canadians should be hearing. But we feel that it's important. Canadians need to know what's going on in this country. And yeah, we have fun. We dress it up. We make jokes, but we're not telling lies about it.
Well, and we know that there is a strong contingent of people that watch Northern Perspective that will click on any video that we drop, and we absolutely love you for that. But there is, and this is normal, a lot of people that, even though they are subscribers to Northern Perspective, we still have to provide a really good title or a really good thumbnail in order to get them to click on that video, because other videos are being presented to them as well. So it's really tough to
because we are
to navigate that.
I mean, we're not just putting information out into the ether and then people find it, right? We're competing against other videos in the same niche. So we want to make sure that what we're saying is 100% true and accurate. I mean, you guys heard how many times I had to correct myself last week because of all the mistakes I made. So that's very important to us. But also we need to have attractive videos. I mean, if it was just us sitting here reading a newspaper, it'd be boring and nobody would watch it, right?
Like, it would be great if the thumbnail could just say NP, click here. Like, maybe I should try that one time and see what happens. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. But there are some ethical practices when you're navigating how to put out, thumbnails and titles. So,
well, and accuracy is king.
Yep.
Right.
And CJR 902 with a $2 super chat. Fast, good, cheap. You can only have two of them.
That's right.
Someone's a sales guy, or someone knows a sales guy, one or the other. I know salespeople, so that's where that comes from. And Kel Rome with a $5 super chat. The almighty triangle, cheap, fast, good. You can only pick two. See, there you go.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Jim Shipley, welcome to NP supporter. Thank you very much. And Jumpin' Jack Q with a $140 super chat. Thank you very much. So much. You guys are amazing. Keep us going in the right direction. Canadians need this so much right now. Thank you so much for that. You are so generous.
Thank you.
And Robert McFallon with a $2 super chat. Good to see you. It's going to be interesting. I would say over the next little while. Tyler Hill with a $10 super chat. What are the actual ramifications of contempt of Parliament? Fine, incarceration, because Firth and Anderson wouldn't even care if it's just a verbal lashing from Fergus. Who listens to Fergus anyway?
I think it used to be more serious like 150 years ago, because your word was really all you had. I think people lived in communities that were much tighter knit than they are now. So, for example, say you're the insurance salesman in your community and you get admonished in front of Parliament.
You have no business.
Huge. Yeah. That's like being excommunicated, right? It was a really big deal back then. Nowadays, I think they do have the ability to arrest people, but that's more to bring them to Parliament. Like if they are refusing a summons, they can go and arrest them. And again, that's very serious. But in terms of like punishment, I'm not sure.
The House can decide to do something. Think of it this way, because there's a slippery slope that can actually come about. So let's say somebody is brought to committee and a very, very, very corrupt majority government.
Like the Liberal NDP one?
Well, let's just say even more corrupt than they are. Someone at committee is telling the truth and making them look bad. What they could do is, if the House was given powers to, let's say, imprison people for being held in contempt of Parliament, play it out. So a corrupt government sees somebody making them look bad, dropping truth bombs in committee. They decide, you're going to be held in contempt of Parliament. You're going to be brought to the bar of the House. And you're going to be arrested because we don't like what you're saying.
Well, and I think that's actually a really good point. There's no due process, right? You're not in a court of law. You're not tried by a jury of your peers. So in the hands of a corrupt government, that could be very dangerous. It makes it frustrating for when people are not cooperating with Parliament, when people are not being truthful and not giving the information that they should be for our democracy, right? Because Canadians want to know, where are my tax dollars being spent? Are my tax dollars being given to people who should not receive that money because of an ethical breach? And when somebody is lying or hiding that information, it's a serious offense. Now, if that moves into the realm of criminality, what we could see is what we saw with the Firth case, is where they executed a search warrant. Yeah,
so it's it all depends. It depends on if what Randy has done and is doing comes under the jurisdiction of a criminal offense. Committing fraud or conspiracy to commit fraud. I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer, as everybody knows now. That was one of the accusations for the longest time.
We also got that we were CSIS agents, but
damn, we've been found out.
Yeah, we're very obviously not CSIS agents.
Yeah.
Sitting here in our t-shirts.
The worst dressed CSIS agent ever. But CSIS agent would say that. But it depends. I don't know what and if that would be a charge under the criminal code. But if there is, then it is possible that someone like Randy could go or could be arrested, found guilty, and either made to pay a hefty fine, damages, or go to prison.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if that falls under perjury or not, the same way it would in a court. Because in a court of law, you can be charged with perjury. I don't know if that's the same in Parliament. I know that when you are a witness in a parliamentary committee or the MPs in the House, for example, they're protected by parliamentary privilege, which means what they say cannot be prosecuted civilly. So, Trudeau can't try to sue Pierre for all the stuff he says about him in question period. But if one of the MPs were to stand up in the House and be like, hey, look at me, I murdered a guy, they can absolutely charge for that because that's criminal.
Well, and recall, Mr. Brock asked for the witness to be sworn in.
Right, but he wasn't.
Right, he wasn't, because the Liberals and the NDP kind of blocked that. So I wonder if Green will kind of change his mind the next time.
Who knows?
Gary Crail with a $5 super chat. Howdy, y'all. This is all I can give. Been a rough go lately. God bless y'all. Well, thank you very much.
Gary.
And remember, please take care of yourselves first. Don't feel you have to give us anything, but if you do choose to, we appreciate it as much as it is given. Thank you very much for that. And Tammy Robinson with a $7 super chat. Good to see you, Tammy. Thank you for outing that piece on the Century Initiative. Of course, Dominic Barton is involved, just like he was head of McKinsey and Big Wefka. Yeah, he you don't even. You don't even have to draw the dots. It's just you just follow the line of stench behind him.
But yeah, we'd actually been working on the Century Initiative one for a little while. I know we had hinted at it a few times, but we didn't want to say anything so that we could get our research done properly and nobody could kind of pull the rug out from under us.
Yeah, and then that came out and off it goes. So
yeah, that was a big story. It took us quite a while to work on that one, but we're very happy with the way the video turned out, and we are really happy to get the word out for sure.
And that just led on to Generation Squeeze and the home taxes and all of that. So
and a possible interview we might have coming up.
Yes.
So, like we said, we don't like to announce anything until we have footage in hand, but we've been trying to schedule some very interesting interviews, and one's related to the homeowners' taxes.
Yeah, we do have a follow-up coming on the home equity tax. So stay tuned. That won't be for at least another week or so. So it's not coming tomorrow or anything like that. Carol Rome with a $5 super chat. Missed the second half of my chat. The libs don't seem to use the triangle. All they do is expensive, slow, and awful.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't even use shapes at all. No triangles, no circles, nothing. It's just throw money at it. That's it. That's all they know how to do. And we have looks like Glenn Stewart, member for 9 months. Wahoo! Heading to the full year. I agree with you guys, are the truth sayers, and I keep telling people in Quinte West. Excellent. Thank you very much. And Marie Perrin with a $5 super chat. Merry-go-round scam, $1.1 billion tax dollars stolen. Seen it on W5 or one of those shows tonight. Has anyone heard about that? CRA is not investigating. Not sure.
I don't think I've heard of
what
that
you're referring to on that
we'll
one.
see if we can find something after.
We are going to be things keep coming up because we've been meaning to get to the committee meeting on the slush fund, the $1 billion green slush fund scandal that they had last week. So hopefully that's probably going to be tomorrow night that we'll do that. So, and then you'll see that on the following day. Kathy Sharp, member for 8 months, like Bill C-63, an unlawful bill, but using legalese to intimidate the population. Well, the good news is Bill C-63, and I've seen some misunderstanding about this in online in certain areas. Remember, Bill C-63 isn't passed yet. It's not even through committee yet, and from what we've heard, it has no chance of passing prior to the next election. So
this is what I'll say on that bill, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say who told me,
No.
but what I was told was that it's probably not going to make it through before the end of the term. Now, because summer has arrived and the House has risen for the summer, they have to reintroduce the bill. So in the fall, if they reintroduce it, then we're kind of going to go, uh-oh, they are taking this seriously.
But here's the thing. Because the Liberals are doing so poorly in the polls, I don't think they're going to care about something like Bill C-63. That's not going to give them a boost in the polls.
Right. I think, because what happens is a lot of the time they'll table these bills at first reading and then they'll just kind of like sit in limbo for a while. They won't go anywhere. They won't go to second reading. Sometimes they'll hang out for years. Is this going to be one of those bills? I'm not sure. We're going to have to wait and see. If they retable it in the fall, then we kind of need to get the hairs on the back of our necks up and be like, okay, they're doing something with this. So then we need to start paying attention. What would happen at that point is it would go to second reading in the House, and then it would go to committee. Now, before the committee stage starts is like the briefing stage where you can actually write a brief to committee and discuss like how you feel about the bill, why you think it's bad. If you're a specialist in the area, like maybe you work in IT, maybe you're some sort of specialist, maybe you've lobbied for free speech. I don't know, whatever specialist you may happen to be, you can write a brief, and you can even write a brief just as a member of the general public. You know, I don't like this bill. This is why. This is what I think will happen. If it gets to that point, I think what we'll probably do is sit down and either do a video or do a live stream of how to write a parliamentary brief. And then you send it to the clerk of committee, and then it gets added into the public record. So, I mean, could you imagine if they had thousands upon thousands of briefs from Canadians saying, this is a bad idea, I don't want this?
I wouldn't want to be the clerk.
No.
Because they would have to go through all of them. So that would be unfortunate. And they have to go through every one.
But you know what? It's our right as Canadians to participate in our democracy. You know, they can't stop us. It's our democracy.
Yeah. Miles with a 279 super chat. Do you believe Pierre will truly cut immigration? I don't believe he will cut immigration. I think he will overhaul the entire immigration system. I really think that that's what's going to happen. And I think in that overhaul, they are going to make specific, I would say, guardrails. And what I mean by a guardrail is that they would say, all right, so for 2026, your limit for the amount of people that can come into the country is X. X is tied to the amount of potential homes that are going to be completed in 2025. Plus housing starts in 2026.
And we're also going to prioritize doctors, nurses,
yeah,
teachers, whoever we need, right?
Our immigration system used to be like that.
Yeah,
right?
it was under Harper.
Right. It used to be, it was really tough to get into Canada because we prioritize specific skill sets. So I think they're really going to prioritize nurses, doctors, other healthcare workers,
construction
builders,
workers, yeah.
And general laborers for the housing industry. I think that's probably going to be, that's your front tier of people that are going to come in. So yes, I think he's going to do that because they have to. It's not a matter of even if he wants to or not. They have to. And he has said that he will, and Canadians are going to expect that he will do that. So, you know, one of the best ways to keep the 1/3 of immigrants that are actually coming into the country from leaving is to actually make it more affordable for them to stay. And you do that by stemming the tide of people come in first. It's actually a very common approach to correcting extremely bad processes. I've done this at many other organizations. So one of the first things that you do when you have a massive problem is you don't go after the root cause first. You say, how do I stop this problem from getting worse? Right? If you're dealing with a data problem, you say, how do I stop the bad data from coming in? And you deal with that first, because that's usually the quickest way to help mitigate the problem. Once you've done that, then you can say, all right, now that we've done that, how do I fix what I have? Because you're not compounding the problem by all of these new people coming in. Now you have the problem to deal with the amount of population you already have. And then you can scale and build towards that. So that's what I believe he's going to do. Dustin Gray with a $5 super chat. The CRA doesn't investigate anything, and like the rest of the government, they'll not be punished. Well, that's not entirely true.
Yeah, the CRA does not like it when you owe them money. So if they think something's going on, they will definitely investigate.
Well, and recall, everybody, that there was over 100 CRA employees that were found to be defrauding the government by taking CERB
while they were employed, and they were all subsequently fired, discharged. Yeah.
So it may feel like it's the true all the time, and it may be true most of the time, that statement, but at least there's sometimes there's some accountability that happens. It needs to happen a whole lot more. I think we can all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like Goko Donnie with a $2 super chat. Real truckers don't wear flip-flops. Okay.
I can't imagine like driving a truck with flip-flops.
All right. Well, it might be time for
oral questions. Oral questions. Oral questions. Thank you to Northern Perspectives for that shout out as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is question period, and I think that meme needs like a little thing at the end that announces question period. So I'm going to do something about that.
Yeah, I think we're going to gussy it up.
Yeah. So we're adding some extra polish on this. So let's go. So throw your questions at Barnaby if you haven't already. I think he already has a couple lined up. And we will get to them as quickly as we can. Stream typically ends at around 11:30, so we'll see what we get. Dustin Gray with a $5 super chat. Not enough. They need to start going to jail. You'll get no arguments from us, Dustin. There has been so much corruption happening at this government. You know, I would love to see people go to jail. The catch is the things that they're doing have to be in the criminal code for them to do that. And that's one of the changes I want Pierre to make. You know, he has said before that they're going to be bringing in anti-corruption laws. If we ever get to talk to him, that's going to be one of the questions that we're going to be asking him. You've talked about anti-corruption laws. What does that mean? Because Canadians are looking for real accountability in politicians, not just Liberals, not just NDP people, any politician that would commit corruption on the taxpayer dime. They should be held accountable and made to answer for that. Okay. Let's see. Marie Perrin with a $2 super chat. This was about fraudulent companies. Okay, thank you very much for that, Marie. That gives us a bit more context. And we'll take a look at that. Ron Jeremy. Hey, that actor is back.
Oh, he's back.
Famous actor in the chat, everybody. Ron Jeremy. Don't go look him up, especially not in front of your kids. What do you think Pierre Poilievre's biggest strength and weakness? Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
So, you want to go first?
Strength. I think he, like once he sets his mind to something, he just does it. And I've heard that from other people, not just kind of what we've observed through parliamentary clips. I've heard that, like, you know, if he wants to do it, he's going to do it. So I think that's why I think he's the guy that's going to be able to clean up Canada, because, you know, he's set his mind to it. He's going to do it. Weakness. I think that I don't necessarily think this is a weakness in all cases. I think if you want to be a leader, you have to be strong. But I think a lot of people will look at somebody who's a strong leader and go, well, he's arrogant, well, he's cocky, he's this, he's that, he's like Trump, and not want to vote for it. So I think that's a weakness.
So I think one of his biggest strengths is he has been phenomenal at maintaining discipline throughout his party. He has, except for Arnold, but he has been really, really good at ensuring that everyone is aligning to the message. Everyone is aligning to their end goal, regardless of what their internal, politics may be. Because there's people that disagree on, the abortion side. There's people that disagree on, some of the more progressives in the conservative movement disagree on some of the policies. But what he's been able to do is say, everybody just stop, listen. What are we trying to do here?
Trying to fix Canada.
We're trying to get in to fix Canada.
Yeah.
So let's get there. And we're only going to get there if we agree on a core set of policies. And not all the policies I want are going to be in there. Not all the policies that Jeff and Jane and the rest of the people in the party want are going to be there. But we need to make sure that we all agree on a core set, and that's what we need to move forward with. So he has been really, really good at maintaining party discipline. And that's why there hasn't been really any mistakes. That's been the really remarkable thing about the Conservatives since he has taken over. There's been so few mistakes that have actually come out. The only big things that have actually come out of the Conservative Party are actually not big things. They are things that the Liberals have tried to make into big things, but they haven't stuck. And they're just tiny little, even just issues that the Liberals have made into something that they weren't. So, example, Pierre stopping on the side of the road because he saw a bunch of people protesting the carbon tax, and then the Liberals were like, he's associating with far-right people.
Right, like, he's a white supremacist. Or, that they turned down the vote for the Ukraine trade agreement. Oh my God, they don't support Ukraine.
It's like, well, they don't support a vote that includes a carbon tax. That's, the reason.
But the thing is, Canadians are so hungry for change, and Canadians want the Liberals out so badly that these little things are not becoming big things, because they're not.
The other, I'm going to break the rule, and because that's from a party side. From a effectiveness side, one of the reasons Pierre has done so well is because Trudeau can't handle Pierre in terms of a debate.
No, because Trudeau's just not intelligent enough.
No, Pierre is so quick-witted, and he is able to turn the tables on something that Trudeau has said, make him feel very foolish for saying it, and then it rattles him, and then he doesn't know what to do.
Trudeau is intimidated by Pierre.
100%.
And again, I think that goes kind of back to what I was saying, where to be a leader, especially a leader of a country, you need to be very strong and charismatic and quick-witted. Trudeau's none of those things. So when he sees that in Pierre, it's intimidating.
And Pierre is aggressive, and he goes after him because he knows he's going to get to him. And that's what Scheer didn't do. That's what O'Toole didn't do. And Pierre is cut from a different, part of cloth. And we talked about this in one of our videos. Pierre's a fighter, and he's ticked off, and a lot of Canadians empathize with that right now. So, the Liberals are like, well, he's not a family man, and he's not a cuddly teddy bear. Canadians don't need a cuddly teddy bear right now. They need somebody who's ticked off and wants to get our country back.
But even that is completely false. Like, okay, sorry, we're kind of turning this into the Pierre hour, but just based on the MPs that we've spoken to and the former MPs we've spoken to, one of the things I always ask, and I do it off camera usually, but I always ask, what's Pierre like as a person? And I always hear the same things. He's a wonderful person. He's a amazing husband and father and family man, and he's very passionate about this country.
And he works his ass off.
Right. So, and I don't think these people would lie to me.
Well, and we always, to anyone who's new, we always go back to this one anecdote that we saw, and it tears me up every time, so I'm going to try and not tear me up today. We were at a rally in St. Catharines, and there was an older gentleman, about 5 or 6 people ahead of us, waiting in line to see Pierre. And he had a hat on, very stocky guy, long gray hair.
Very tall.
And we couldn't hear what he was saying to Pierre, but we could tell that he was saying something. And then Pierre was looking at him, and Pierre started having like a visual reaction to what this guy was saying, and then Pierre just gave this guy a big bear hug. And we could see Pierre saying to him, "It's okay. It's going to be okay." Oh, it happened again. Dang it.
I mean, you can't fake something like that.
So Pierre is who he has to be when he needs to be that person. Not in a fake way, but in a real way. So,
yeah.
So that's what we'll say. Anyway, great question, Ron Jeremy. Johannes Johnson.
You had some good questions from that guy. Eh?
Yeah.
It must be from all his
experience
in the field.
Absolutely. Very diverse field experience. Johannes Johnson, member for 5 months. The CRA does not like when they make a mistake and they are called out, i.e. saying taxes owed, they have to provide a refund because of the error. Yeah, they don't like that at all. I agree with you. Okay.
Jilly Beans, member for 5 months, says, I think a weakness of Pierre's is that he uses his slogans too much. That, I think, is from a marketing thing. I think his marketing team is telling him to use the slogans because, like, if you ever interact with him one-on-one, like at a rally, if you go up to him, he's not going to be like, we're going to axe the tax today. Like, I think it's just a marketing thing, and it's to get it in Canadians' heads that he's going to remove the carbon tax because that's what's making us all miserable.
Well, and he also has we're going to build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime, right? So,
again, things that are impacting Canadians, and I think he's repeating it so often, again, to drill it into our heads. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where Marge is trying to impress upon Bart, like, how important Springfield is. And she's like, this town is a part of us all, a part of us all, a part of us all. And then it cuts to a scene of him later, and he's like skateboarding or something, and he just hears his mom in his head. He's like, wow, that works. I think that's exactly what it is.
Well, and the other thing, too, is what have the Liberals said they're going to do? Fairness for every generation.
Yeah, that's like their new thing. And it's like, well, how? Because you're trying to tax our grandparents' generation or our parents' generation, depending how old you are. You're trying to tax everything that they've worked hard for, which would then come to us when they are no longer of this world. So how is that fair for anybody?
And here's the major difference between those two platforms. In order for the Liberals to do what they want to do, they have to take our money, whether we want to give it or not. In order for the Conservatives to do what they want to do, they have to get to work. Right? They balance the budget. They repeal bills. It doesn't require our participation to get this stuff done. So it's a very clever approach because it just says, we have to do this stuff. So you need us to be in government in order to do that. Whereas Trudeau's like, well, if you put us in again, we're going to take your money. Isn't that great? Like this is who you're dealing with here. Next we have... Let's see. I think that was Jilly Beans. Mr. Excuses, member for 6 months, saw Trudeau post about buying scanners for ports. Is there laws about stealing opposition platform to get votes?
No, that's why the Conservatives are not revealing their platform or not very much of it. Or one of the criticisms is like, oh, it's only snippets of the platform. It's like slogans. It's not the actual platform. This is exactly why. Is because the Liberals are going to say half of it is garbage and that, this is a stupid idea, whatever. And the other half they're going to steal, as they have been, because they also tried stealing the let's build homes around transit stations idea, or let's turn government buildings into homes. So they are little by little stealing pieces of the Conservatives' platform, and that's why the Conservatives are not giving too much away. So when you hear somebody criticizing, well, the Conservatives have no idea what they're
they have
doing.
No plan.
They have no plan for Canada. They do. They're just not telling it publicly yet because they don't want the Liberals to steal it. When election comes around, that's when they'll tell us their platform in full.
So there we go. Just want to make sure I check this. So Malay loves cat for the $10 super chat. Have you two heard about Andrew Lawton from True North running for a CCP nomination? Pardon me, in the London, Ontario area. Oh, and good evening, all. Yes, he is.
We actually heard about that kind of from the inside, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
But CBC did do a story on it, so
yeah.
It is out in the wild. So yes, looks like he's going to be taking a leave of absence from True North in order to seek the nomination. He hasn't won it yet. He hasn't been tapped for it from what we know.
But
he's
it is
going to be seeking
a lot of work to
run
for nomination. I mean, you started and you stopped because of your knee and because,
my knee screamed at me to stop.
Yeah, and because it would take you away from us. But it's a lot of work. Even the pre-stuff before you even start knocking on doors, it's a lot of work.
It is.
So I hope everything goes well for him. I wish him good luck. Because that would be awesome to have him as the MP for that riding. Well,
and we don't know what other candidates are going to be running against him either. So, hopefully there's some quality people and may the best person win. So, Mr. Roscoe Pico with a $5 super chat. Google won't let me look up GHI. The information is not available. Start of the company. Randy knew what was happening down the road. Plandemic. As we said, that it's very plausible. And Diane Sylvain, holy moly, Diane! Thank you so much for the $100 super chat. Thunderstorms all around me. Internet not working well up north in Alberta. Libs weaponized immigration against Canadians. Great two Coots boys found not guilty of that persecution of conditional conspiracy. Been researching that RCMP should focus on real criminals. Amen to that.
Yep, 100%.
And thank goodness the justice system prevailed in those two cases. I know I think they were found guilty of some other things, but I don't think they were, they certainly were not found guilty of any conspiracy to commit, any sort of acts of violence against the RCMP. Yeah. So that was really, really nice to hear. And going next, Peter Engelman with a $5 super chat. Basic definition: Pierre is quick-witted while Trudeau is dim-witted. Sounds about right to me. There you go. And we'll get through these next ones. My lady loves cats with a $10 super chat. He doesn't talk to people like he knows better than regular people what's best for them, and that's and that he's willing to listen and learn.
Yeah, yes. 100%. And I think that was one of the things that I found. What's the right word? Most endearing, perhaps, when we were at the rally, is that he really leans in and listens to you. Like, he listens to every word that you're saying. And we thought we were kind of done talking to him and we're ready to leave because there was more people in the line. But then he continued talking to us. So, he's very engaging and he listens, He's not just like, hey, I'm the center of attention. Pay attention to me. No, he listens to you.
Okay, let's. I'll pause there and let's get to some questions. Paul Barnett, what do you think of the Supreme Court ruling in RV Power?
That's not one that we're familiar with off the top of our heads, and it's probably something that would need some looking into before we can give an actual solid opinion. Sorry about that.
Repeat, small suggestion, live streams now often play Google ads when the stream starts, so an intro is good because often we miss dialogue.
Oh, so to catch up, I see. Yeah. The intro that we play is about 10 seconds long. It might be 11 or 12, but hopefully that's enough time that enables you to be able to skip the ad.
Let's see. Condolences to the family of the Alberta wildfire firefighter who died in line of duty fighting the Jasper fire yesterday. That's from Johnny O. Thank you very much for that, Johnny O. And yes, our thoughts and prayers go out to the friends and family of that Canadian hero. Let's just call him what he is. Norm Nicholson. What are our hosts imbibing in?
Well, they're not paying us to show it, so they're not sponsoring us.
Let's just say it's the opposite of medical salt. Okay, if you can put that together, medical salt.
It's just stuff I buy at Costco. It's nothing exciting.
And it's not alcoholic.
No, not tonight.
And repeat. I'm so the opinion that Randy was not a name, but rather an adjective.
Nice.
SW, every Randy I know is suspect at part of the let's see. Caladius, can someone please super chat the following? We need a new sound clip of the dude from The Big Lebowski saying, "New information has come to light, man." That's not a bad one.
I'll see what I can do.
And
I'll write that down.
Stinger 007, the detriment WEF question shutdown was on February 22nd.
Okay,
thank you.
I will write that down as well. Thank you.
Should be able to find that. Suggestion for a meme, a video of Brock saying, "No one believes you," would make a great meme video.
Yes,
Which
I'm going to
time?
write that down too. All the times. You could put a montage. It'll be great.
No one believes you. Good question, Tyler Hill. So what does contempt of parliament actually do to a person? Is this glorified slap on the hand? Well, I guess we've kind of talked about that a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, it is really just 100 years ago it was serious because, everybody would know you as the guy who was in contempt of parliament, and maybe they wouldn't buy products or services from you. But now it's a sign of the times, I guess.
Yep. Let's see.
Death says this is so much nicer than the cartoon version. Well, this is the last version of Northern Perspective, so if you don't like it, sorry, that's all we got.
It's funny because when I would be on calls with my my team when I was working, I would be listening intently, and I would just be looking at them, and I guess I wouldn't move very much, and they would constantly ask me, "Are you frozen?" So I guess
from the first gen puppets, because what would happen is if we had to cut the footage, because back then we really were not used to even just speaking to an audience. We made a lot of mistakes, even when we were reading things. So in order to make the editing part easier, whoever was not speaking would just sit perfectly still, so that the puppets wouldn't move around, and then it was easier to edit.
Well, and that probably led to what I was talking about, which is when I was on Teams calls at work, I would say very, very still, listening to people, and they would say, "Are you frozen?" And I would say, "No, I'm here." And so I guess I was kind of like Drac in Guardians of the Galaxy, trying to become invisible by saying "so still." Nancy Ravoy was wearing my Northern Perspective hoodie in Calgary, Banff, and got 2 thumbs up. Loving the merch, by the way. That's amazing.
Awesome.
Excellent. Oh, and I do have kind of a mini announcement. So probably in the next week or so, you will see a new shirt design on the store, and it will have the 2 avatars in front of this
background, right?
This background, yeah. And it says Cypher and Fox on them, because I know some people were asking about those.
And are we doing just the unisex tee, or are we doing ladies' tees as well?
We can do both.
Okay, so we'll have a unisex and a ladies' tee, a ladies' cut with the V-neck, right?
Yep. So that should do well, and we're not having any, crazy sales or anything like that. We've priced everything as aggressive as we can to make sure that your dollar goes further on Northern Perspective. So,
and also, if you're an MP Supporter Plus member, that's the $24.99 per month level, there is a coupon code that you can use once per month, and the August code is up.
Jarsha with a $5 super chat. Pierre's biggest weaknesses is diet control. An apple a day keeps the liberal shills away, but we haven't seen him eat one in months.
Nice.
Well played. Well played. Okay, back to questions.
You missed a super chat or a member comment. It says, it's from the dude, member for 11 months. It says, the little things that Trudeau wants to get Pierre on is misinformation and disinformation, and Singh is just all out lying about Pierre's policies. Yeah, we've caught him in at least a couple lies. Like, it makes you look worse. You know, you can say X about somebody and be like, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. But when you find out it's not true, it makes you, the liar, look worse. And we also have Neil McLean gifting 10 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much.
Stephen C. with a $5 super chat. I honestly don't envy Pierre's job. He's going to be tasked with healing a nation. Yes, he
is. And, you know, it's once it doesn't happen fast enough, or if there's bumps along the way, people are going to take it out on Pierre and the Conservatives. I think it's important for all of us to remember that this is a process. Pierre's not Batman. You know, the Conservatives aren't all collectively Robin. They're not going to just swoop in and fix Canada all in one night. It's going to take time.
Years.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time. And the best way that we can help is to get involved.
Like, even if they waved a magic wand and they were able to, like, pass all the legislation all at once, remember, it takes a long time for that to then filter throughout the system in order to actually have all of these changes make place. So.
Right, because even when something receives royal assent, it doesn't mean it's law the next day. It takes a little while to actually put it into practice.
That's the unfortunate byproduct of the government bureaucracy. Wicks Farm with a $2 super chat just put in D'Entremont cut of MP about wet. Okay, thank you. And 100 dead 001 with a $5 super chat. Bender meme. Randy, you were talking to Randy.
Oh my God, yes.
There you go.
Yes.
So Tony likes that one.
That one we absolutely need.
Frank with a $5 super chat. Pierre really does defund CBC. What do you think will happen to them as a company?
They're going to have to get really good really fast.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of changes. Will the CBC disappear? I don't think so, but their funding will. And I think they're going to really need to prioritize what type of content that they do. You know, like a business. And actually be fiscally responsible in order to keep their business alive. Dr. Johns. I don't even care anymore, Drew. With the contract given to Randy, was that before or after Trudeau sent all protective equipment to China, thereby having none for Canadians?
Do we know? Because I think he sent it in November of 2019, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember. Something is telling me it's early in 2020.
I'm not 100% sure. I think it was November, just because I have an uncle who his business makes this kind of stuff, not PP necessarily, but kind of related stuff. And I remember him saying that, you know, look at this idiot Trudeau. He sent all of our PPE to a foreign country. What happens, like, if it's going to come here type thing. So
I was working at a healthcare company at that time, and for some reason I'm thinking it's January, February, but
I don't know. In March, I remember, is when your company
everything shut down in March.
It was before that then that your company was trying to work with my uncle's company to try to find a PPE supplier.
Yeah, but everything shut down in March is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, all the states of emergency happened mid-March.
I want to say November, but don't hold my feet to the fire on that one.
Flying Beaver, how much more corrupt does our government have to get before we label it as such? Serious question as I watch JT day in, day out. Well, depends on who you mean by, you know, we. Because I think all reasonable Canadians label them as a corrupt government. And embarrassingly enough, I think a lot of the other nations are and our allies are actually labeling us as such.
Well, and the more we talk about it, I think the more normalized, like, calling them corrupt is going to be, because that's what they are. Look at all this stuff that they're doing. They're wasting your tax dollars and they're getting away with it. And for some reason, 20 odd % of people are still willing to vote Liberal. Why? Like, I don't know. The more we talk about it, the more we get this out in the open and expose it to the sunlight, the better it's going to be.
Wildcard 36. Can you make a step-by-step on the webpage on how to become a member? I see the buy coffee and super chats in YouTube. I won't see it in chat tonight. It's fast and furious. Yeah, we can probably do something like that.
It's pretty easy actually to become a member. If you look at any of our videos, and it should be on this video as well, right below the video, and then it'll say like the title of the video, you'll see the Northern Perspective logo, and to the right of that it should say join, and that's the button you click to join as a member.
Justin Brown, recall an initiative act. Can you see this become federally? Can I see it coming to the federal government?
I think only if Canadians push really hard for it.
Well, I'm hesitating because there are so many other things that the Conservatives have to do
first
to as just priority in order to fix the system. That's going to be very low on the list. Should that come into play or something like that? Yes, we need something that allows us to impeach a prime minister, to deal with a corrupt government. We need some sort of process in order to deal with that. I think the last 9 years has demonstrated that. When will this come? I don't know. It's not going to come for at least a couple of years because, again, there's so many bills that the Conservatives have to introduce to start undoing the damage.
But if you make it a focus, I mean, Canadians need to make this a focus. If we cry hard enough for it, you know, and for example, if the Conservatives are like, no, we're not going to implement that, but Canadians want it and they know Canadians want it, the Liberals are going to come in and go, hey, guess what? We'll put this law in. And then maybe people vote for the Liberals and hope that they do it. You know what I mean? So it's really a popularity contest, but it has to be an idea that Canadians actually want that could earn the party the vote, right? The other thing that you can do, if it's something you're very serious about, you can book an appointment with your MP and request that it be put in as a private member's bill. Private members' bills are very difficult to pass into law, but it is an avenue where an average citizen can go to their MP and say, you know what, I think we need this law. Here's why I think we need it. And then you work together to get the law created.
I have an idea. I'm going to take this one away and I'm going to think about what this could be structured like. Not just, you know, we need a process to do that. But what would that look like and how could that operate within our political system? And I have some people now that I can actually talk to about that. So I'll take that one away.
Don't forget.
Might even be an episode. Ray, if the chair, regarding committee, if the chair doesn't see a member's hand and hands the chair to someone else, are they required to pass the chair over right away to the missed member? No. No, they're not. You're obviously referring to what happened at committee with on the status of women. No, they're not.
Usually it's the chair's ruling is what goes. But lately, the Liberals and NDP, whenever the chair makes a ruling that they don't like, they work together to overrule it.
Which is...
It's gross. It really is. It's a slap in the face of our democracy and our parliamentary processes.
Peter Henry, any chance Ryan and Tanya might drop a bit about current events in England in the next 24 to 48 hours?
Unlikely. We typically stay within Canada. We know that geopolitics are important, but we just don't have the capacity typically to cover anything outside of Canada.
Yeah, it really... there's obviously exceptions, like the Trump event obviously was an exception. It really, really depends, and it depends on what's happening here. But to Tanya's point, there's so much going on here that we try not to get distracted. And I know that doesn't sound like a great way of putting it, but
we're only two people.
Yeah.
So we have to maintain our focus here at home.
We don't have a team of interns working for us yet. Cohen H, how much of what Pierre Poilievre says is true and actually going to happen, and how much is just political speak? Well, here's the nice thing about what Pierre has been saying, at least from what we've heard. He says a lot of the same things over and over again. He doesn't have 50 different things that he's like, oh, I'm going to promise to do this and this and this and this and this.
And they're not like huge things. I mean,
they're very easily done things.
I think they're important things, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to take years and years and years and years to cut immigration to the level of our home building, for example. Or what else has he promised? To axe the tax. Like, it might take a couple years to get the bill through Parliament, a year or two, but they're not going to be sitting on their hands waiting around. Like, they can start that legislation the day they take office.
Yeah. And if I'm the Conservatives, I'm going to be like raring to go. I'm going to have like all these bills like kind of ready to go.
Waiting in the wings, yeah.
And just slap, right? So
a lot of it is repealing. Like, they're going to repeal bills C5 and C75. Those are the catch and release bills.
And C11, C18.
Again, more repealing, which is just a bill that says, we are repealing this bill, that bill, whatever.
Yeah. Now, there's things that we need to hear more from Pierre, and to our earlier point, we will hear more as the election, creeps up. You're going to build the homes. Okay. So what he has said on building homes is he is going to mandate that municipalities build 15% more homes per year every year, or else they won't get their money from the government. Okay, that's a great idea. What else are you going to do? There has to be a lot more in the toolbox in order to build these homes quickly. So that's going to motivate them in the long term. Fine, because if you think about it, 15% per year, the housing starts, I think, are around 250,000. So that will bring that up to what? Just over 300? Okay, we need a lot more than that. We need them now. What are you going to do? So need to hear a lot more from him on that. But to Tony's point, most of what he said are very easy things. It's not like he's Trudeau. Yeah, I'm going to overhaul the entire election system. That's a pretty big thing to just say flippantly. To be able to say, yeah, we're going to repeal this, repeal that, repeal this, repeal. That's easy. That's really, really easy. So he's saying a lot of things that are actually easy to do.
They're doable, but
they have a massive impact. So I would say most of what Pierre is saying in that regard is true. So we'll see what happens. The more nuanced stuff is the stuff that he doesn't talk about very often because it's not high on Canadians' priorities list, and it's not on the country's priority list, which is anti-corruption laws. He's talked about his dollar for dollar, spending law. That needs to come into play very quickly in order to be able to balance the budget and make sure these interest rates come back down. So there's a lot of different things that he has said in the past that don't get said a lot now. Those are the ones I'm kind of watching, and we're going to be tracking this, by the way, after the election. We're going to be taking their whole campaign, and that's going to be on the website, and we're going to be tracking every single promise. Make sure that they do it. So, Daniel T, how quickly, time-wise, do you think Pierre will axe the carbon tax?
Like I said, I think that they can literally table a bill, like for first reading, the day they take office if they want. Which they probably will either that day or very, very soon after. But it's probably going to take a year, maybe two, to get through to Parliament. Because what happens is it goes through, first reading, second reading, then goes to committee stage, then goes to third reading, then goes over to the Senate to do the exact same thing. Once it passes, it receives royal assent. Once something receives royal assent, it doesn't just come into law the very next day. There's a period of time where they go, okay, let's look at this bill, which is now legislation, or which is now law, I should say, and how do we enact this law practically? And that can take some time. For something like a tax, it may only be a few months. I don't know. Some things may take longer. Like, for example, Bill C-11 has gone through the House and received royal assent, but they're not enacting it until after the election, is what we've been told, because it's one of those things that's very complicated and takes a lot of time.
Genghis Tron, my typical left field question: how did you two meet? Well, we actually met on a plane, started talking to Randy about like looking at putting a PPE company together, and then there was this guy Steven that butted in, was asking about glasses and autocorrect stuff. Anyway, no,
like any good nerds, we met online.
we met before Tinder, thank goodness.
Yes, I don't think Tinder was a thing yet. I messaged you because you had a photo of your cat in the profile.
Well,
who became our cat.
It's funny because I had gotten frustrated with the whole dating scene, and before I had written this profile, I was trying to be as attractive as possible. You know, oh, I'm such a nice guy, I'm this, I'm that. And so I had gotten annoyed at that point, and I'm just like, all right, I'm done. This is who I am. I'm not sugarcoating it. I do this. I do this. I own a condo. I do this. I do this. I do this. I do this. That's it.
And I was like, oh, he's cute. He's got a cat.
So I was like, I guess that worked. So.
No, seriously though, young men in our audience who may be online looking for love, put an image of yourself with your pet in your profile. It's actually shown to increase your odds of attracting a mate.
Yeah, even steal your neighbor's pet, it'll help. So just make sure you give it back. So there you go. Rico Suave, what did you think about Pierre and Anna's interview on that Latino program the other day?
I haven't had the opportunity to watch it. Yeah.
With everything else going on. Jason Craig, axe the tax, drop the crime, build the home, and build more pooping stations on the beach. LOL. Okay, so I didn't know if anyone was going to bring this up, but yes, we know about the whole defecate gate that's been going on, and we've intentionally not talked about it. Why?
Because there's more pressing issues in this country than what's going on at Wasaga Beach.
Well, and there's a lot of misinformation going on. You know, some people have actually reached out to us about this video that other channels are reporting on about this this alleged Indian gentleman saying, oh, you know, we're going to come and take over, and, you know, we're going to come take your wives and everything like that. I'm wondering if everybody has seen that. So if you have, just throw one in the chat if you've seen that. You know, when he's like, oh, we're going to come to Tim Hortons and make your meals badly and yada, 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 yada. So that, you know, if you recall my little rant last Sunday on people needing to do better and needing to understand that you have a responsibility to be accurate, because otherwise you can tick a lot of people off. Well, here's the problem with that. It's not true. It is 100% not true.
It was a joke.
And I will prove it to you.
The guy posted the video as a joke. It was satire.
I will prove it to you.
So
here's the video you saw.
Don't treat Canada like it's India. You want to act like that, stay where you came from. No, I will stay here only. We are all coming and we are taking over. We will replace you all. We are going to work at the Tim Hortons and mess up your order on purpose only. We will marry your woman and shit on your beach. Nothing you can do will stop us. Nothing. Soon the takeover will be complete.
That's what you saw. Now, if anyone bothered, and I mean anyone as in any other channels that were reporting on this, bother to actually do 10 minutes worth of research, they would have found the real thing. So we actually found this guy's channel not the people that cut the important part off. This is what the full video is.
Don't treat Canada like it's India. You want to act like that, stay where you came from. No. I will stay here only. We are all coming and we are taking over. We will replace you all. We are going to work at the Tim Hortons and mess up your order on purpose only. We will marry your woman and shit on your beach. Nothing you can do will stop us. Nothing. Soon the takeover will be complete. Bro, I'm not even Indian. I'm not even Indian. The racism in the comments are crazy, bro.
There you go.
That's a lot different. And it ticks me off.
So people either are not doing the proper research and just reposting this edited version, or they do know and they're posting this edited version. Again, we try to focus on truth. We go straight to the source. Like, where did that video come from? That was the profile of the guy who made it. You know, we try to get to the bottom of things so that we're not spreading lies, essentially, either purposefully or by accident, or because we just didn't work hard enough to find the truth.
Well, again, and this ticks me off because, like, you can have your opinions about, you know, the immigration program and all of that, but when people are using these videos because they're just too damn lazy to verify that that is actually the video and that's the end of it, they then turn this into, oh, look what they're all saying. They're going to come. Dude,
like, come on, don't spread hate. Like,
where this video came from is this guy was reading comments that he receives, right? And people accuse him of being Indian, and so he was just making fun of it and saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna come and take all your stuff.
All this stuff. We're gonna mess up your Tim Hortons order or whatever."
And you know, people that, you know, want to make everyone angry, they cut off the end of that, and then off it goes. And
that's kind of the danger with satire and with anything on the internet, really. Like, even some of the stuff we post, I'm like, oh, please God, don't clip that, like, out of context. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff people could clip from us would probably sound terrible.
Yeah. But again, some people just do it on purpose to get a rise out of other people, and it's really important to discern, like, when you're watching somebody on YouTube or on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, are they actually trying to give me information, or are they just trying to rile me up?
Yeah, so be careful. Be careful of where you're getting your information and what the narrative is behind that information. And if it seems really extreme, it probably is. So anyway, that's my rant. So thank you for that question. Okay, let's get through some administration. Julie Beans with a $5 super chat. A federal census government. I like this idea. Then we can get rid of the stupid parties and there could be less corruption. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that Humble Tracker popped in with 20 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much
for that. Good to see you.
And sorry, we didn't respond to Jilly Beans. A federal census government. I like this idea. Then we can get rid of the stupid parties and there could be less corruption.
I just said that.
Yeah, but we didn't.
Oh, there wasn't a question in there. So.
But yes, we could get rid of that corruption,
sure
or there
could.
would be less of it at least.
Yevgen something.
Jevin Gendro.
Yep. With a $10 super chat. I had to go onto a laptop to become a member. There you go. YouTube app on my phone. iPhone wouldn't give the membership up. The app is terrible.
No, it's Apple takes like a 30% cut on top of what YouTube takes in terms of membership, super chats, etc. So for new channels like ours, it completely disables the button. Because I guess there was a squabble or something between YouTube and iPhone. I don't quite know the whole story, but I just know that on new YouTube channels that the button's not there. A super chat button should also not be there from what I understand. We're an Android household, so I don't know for sure, but that's just kind of what I've heard on Reddit.
Rocco Martino with a $5 super chat. I found your channel a month ago and have been obsessively watching all your vids since. Randy and Tammy. You can be Randy, I'll be Tammy. You're awesome. Stupid autocorrect, Ryan and Tanya. Oh, love it.
Nice.
Well played. Well played.
We have a couple of super chats up here. We have Humble Tracker gifting another 10 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much. And a $50 super chat from Diane Sylvain. It says, got an email you cannot ship to my NP stuff to a P.O. box. Did you get my email giving you my alternate address?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we changed that.
Perfect. So it is on its way?
I believe so.
Or it's been changed. It should be on its way very soon.
The good thing with our vendor is they're like, as soon as I, send it to them, they say, okay, well, I've made the change and it should be good to go. So.
And it says, thanks. P.S. I have no words for what happened on those 2 domestic violence witnesses. All I can think of is it's not parliamentary.
Yeah.
It's not. And you guys heard me, I wrote a letter to Anita, and I know a few of you did as well. Again, if stuff is happening in Parliament that you think is not parliamentary, or if it's upsetting you, or even if you think it's good, write that MP. Like, don't be rude, don't name call, don't threaten, don't harass, but let them know, you know what? That's not cool. That's not permitted in Parliament.
Let's see. Bruce McIntosh with a $2.79 super chat. Penny D with a $2 super chat. Thanks, guys. Sorry for my bad joke. I don't even remember your bad joke, so it must not have been that terrible. So don't worry about it, Penny D. Humble Track with a $10 super chat. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek.
Well said.
That's really, really good advice. And that's why we've been doing our part at these MP events in our ridings. And we encourage all of you to do that as well. Ray Sadie's, where the heck you been with a $5 super chat? Sorry I'm so late. Yeah, now we can start the show. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Northern Perspective. Ray Sadie's finally here.
We'll catch up later, but waves hi all.
Yeah. He's probably way behind. Wendy M with a $7 super chat. There's going to be a lot of hubbies out there disappointed that no one is coming to take their... That's
amazing.
Could be joke of the night there, Wendy.
Well played.
Could be joke of the night.
That was a good one.
Well done. Well done. Matawa Miss with a $10 super chat. When Pierre tries to undo what Trudeau has done, will any of it get past the Senate with Trudeau having it stacked with Liberals? So
we've discussed this in the past. I think it would be very foolish of the Senate to just block any bills that the Conservatives try to put through for the fact that they are Conservatives, because their purpose is to serve Canadians, and that's not serving Canadians. And also, if they start doing stuff like that, I think you're going to hear a lot of, maybe we should abolish the Senate. Why do we have a Senate? We should just abolish it. So, I mean, there's over 100 of them in that house, and they are getting salaries of $150,000 a piece plus, right?
I think the message is know your role and do your job.
Yeah, I think that if they start blocking everything, it's going to be a very quick way to lose a $150,000 a year job.
Well, and we're hoping to ask that question at one of our interviews in the next
little while,
couple of months, yeah, and hopefully we'll get an answer for that question for you. Rebus says with a $2 super chat. Repeat after me. Don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. David Lazowski with a $5 super chat. Clyde Do Something had 2 guys from India a couple days ago, and they talked about some of the issues that are going on. It was eye-opening. Interesting. Clyde definitely has some interesting guests on from time to time for sure. Janice Pollard, member for 1 month. I think Pierre's primary strength is that he packs facts, not scripted, no BS, no deflection. He's always on top of his game. And he doesn't want any of his people to be using notes as well, because he wants everything to come from the heart and not from a script, because it sounds robotic, it sounds rehearsed, and even if you believe in it, it never sounds like it.
And actually, that's something that we saw while we were in Parliament for question period that you don't see on the TV is you see the pages bringing up like these boxes back and forth, and they're probably about this tall, and they just rest them on the desks for the MPs, and they put their notes on them. But the Conservatives, I think I only saw maybe one person using them, where the Liberals had them like all the time, that the pages were back and forth with these boxes.
Yeah. And they're encouraged not to use notes at all. Rev says with a $5 super chat, Android is better than the Apple Garden, but we really need a true open source alternative that doesn't do any of that BS, in my opinion. Chris Van Brommel with a $5 super chat, a prayer for Justin Trudeau, Psalm 109, 8, may his days be few, may another take his office. There we go.
Beautiful.
And Humble Tracker dropping 50.
Wow, thank you.
Members. Holy moly.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. And Will Kalchuk, good to see you with a $20 super chat. I'd like to thank you guys and all. And chat, please keep up the good work. Love to hear all the information you gave us. Love MP and all in chat. Thank you very much for that. And Wayful for Life with a $20 super chat. When I was looking for a political channel, you wouldn't believe how many I told YouTube to stop recommending. These were all clickbait, half-baked research, and all looking for hot takes. Happy to have found you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. We're happy too.
If there's one thing we believe in, it's if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So if we're going to research it, we're going to research it.
You don't want to get under our microscope. We will find everything. Everything. Suzanne, member for 1 month, is the Louis Vuitton guy going to jail the MP lying about Randy. That's amazing.
I don't know. Is the truth? I don't know.
Justin Brown with a $7 super chat. I wrote the Conservatives in the block about their good SOW meeting, and so far, Adrian LaRouche said thank you. Excellent.
Awesome. It's so fun when you actually get a response back from the MP.
Jim Devlin with a $20 super chat. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
No, we're not going to stop anytime soon.
Let's see. Let's do some rapid fire.
Okay, do you want me to read them?
Sure.
Okay, let me see what I got here.
And then we'll call it a night.
Rapid fire. Don't you think we should shut down immigration for 5 years? We have too many, and this is the reason everything is expensive.
So no. What I do think, because there's always some sort of waiting list, and we do need specific skill sets of people in the country. I think
doctors and nurses.
Yeah, I think we should get that Blue Seal program up that Pierre is talking about. Get that up and running fast as soon as they're in. That's going to obviously take several months to actually do, and make sure that whatever test that they put in play is going to accurately as possible measure these individuals that are coming in to make sure that they are qualified to practice whatever their discipline is in Canada, and but severely limit it to just the people that we are critical in that skill set that we need right now.
And like spouse and kids, that's it.
Yeah. And there are people that have been waiting and are on a wait list that are trying to get in as well, so we have to consider all of that.
Did you see that crazy video of Toronto's mayor at the Grand Parade of the Toronto Caribbean Carnival?
No,
but we were in Toronto yesterday though, because we had to go pick up some camera equipment, and we noticed that the lakeshore was shut down, and then we saw people with the costumes. We're like, oh, something's going on.
Yeah, the Gardner was even more of a disaster.
Yeah.
So obviously that's what was going on.
Sorry, Kim Court says, what's up with the Chinese interference hearings?
So what's going on right now is after all of the initial hearings were completed, there may be more, but after all those initial hearings are completed, Justice Hogue is still waiting on the government to provide her the evidence that she needs. But in the meantime, no doubt what's happening is her and her team are essentially going through all of the testimony, going through all of the evidence, and they are evaluating it to then put all of their findings and recommendations into written form that is due in a report later in the year. So that's what is happening right now with that. But the one thing that Canadians have not forgotten is, who are these MPs that are collaborating with foreign states? That's one thing that nobody has forgotten.
This is a good one. The last Canadian plastic straw. Good username. It says, do you think people with religious conviction can become politicians without having to sacrifice their religious convictions?
Yes. Yes, because I don't believe your religious convictions should dictate whether or not you are allowed to run for parliament. What I will caution those people on, though, is, and you may say yes, of course, but people may not think about that, is you are going to be representing people that don't share your religious convictions, and you're going to be representing people that may have the opposite view as your religious convictions.
And you might have to vote opposite to your religious convictions to represent your constituents, not to represent your own personal beliefs.
So
if that's going to be hard for you, then, certain votes you may have to talk to the whip or excuse yourself or pair with somebody else.
And the Conservative Party, from what we've been told, they do take that very seriously. And in most cases, you should be able to abstain or what have you. But it's just something to consider. So a religious belief will not prevent you from running for parliament, won't necessarily prevent you from winning a seat in parliament, but just understand what you're signing up for. So
this one's from JD. It says, serious question. With Ryan's knowledge of politics, would he run for mayor where he lives? He could make huge changes in his community and be home for his family.
The challenge with that is I'd have to see what that time commitment would be, because
Councillor maybe, right? Because mayor's kind of like the top guy, right? In our case, it's Andrew Horvath. But like when you come in as an MP, you're coming in as part of a party. You're coming in under people. They teach you what to do. Whereas in municipal, it's a little bit different. If you're going as a councillor, for example, then you're not top of the food chain in the municipality, so you might be able to kind of learn the ropes as you go.
Yeah, I've thought about running for at least trustee, because I'm not too happy with our trustee.
Yeah. So what better way to get rid of the trustee than to run opposite her?
So maybe JD, maybe Councillor Ryan in the future. We'll see. But would that prevent me from participating in Northern Perspective? Don't know.
Yeah, because then you get people going, oh my God, this guy's a conservative.
Don't care. Anyway, well, it's something that I would consider carefully, because we have seen the value that Canadians do get from Northern Perspective.
So I was trying to find out. There's a few that are kind of like repeats of what we've touched on already. This one's from Marie Perrin. It says, if Pierre Poilievre cuts taxes, that will lower the price on building supplies and gets rid of some red tape. The builders can build cheaper. What do you think?
Possibly. The one thing that I think the Conservatives need to be diligent and vigilant about is they need to be ensuring that as they repeal the carbon tax, I don't know how they would do this, but they need to ensure that when they cut the carbon tax, that all the companies on the supply chain don't just eat up that carbon tax as now profit.
Yeah. I think if the Conservatives make an announcement like, okay, we've cut the carbon tax in say 3 months, you should see some relief, and then Canadians are not seeing relief, there's going to be a lot of trouble for manufacturers and distributors and sellers, etc.
So I just want to make sure that they're doing their due diligence and they're watching it. So to call it out.
And this is a statement from Drew Johns. It says, Cypher and Fox, 16 tons was sent to China March of 2020 regarding the PPE, I'm assuming. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
March of 2020? Yes.
I thought it was November.
Robbie says with a $2 super chat, did anyone else find themselves unsubscribed? We've actually raised that with YouTube, with a partner
brand
person.
Partner we have or whatever they are. Yeah.
So, Robbie says, can you just confirm that you did find yourself unsubscribed? Let Barnaby know, because they've asked for account examples.
Yeah, we can give them the link to your account.
Yeah. So, and then they can check and see what's happened. So, thank you for that. And yes, double check that you're subscribed. That would be horrendous if you found yourself unsubscribed, which people are seeing, with a lot of channels that they follow. Well, Cal, check with a $5 super chat. Just want to let you know, having a bonfire tonight and converted another 2. Thank you so much. Oh, you
Awesome.
didn't. Yeah, but you didn't invite us. I want to go to a bonfire tonight.
We're not allowed to have bonfires within the city limits.
Yeah, but Will Kowalchuk's not in the city limits.
No,
probably.
but we're not allowed to have them. Which
That's
kinda
why
sucks.
he should invite us.
There you go.
So,
no.
Any other questions, or are we just finishing up super chats?
Let me see. This one's from Jason Craig. It says a coalition or whatever it's called should not affect the result years in power of a minority government. This should be changed and put into law. Your thoughts?
I don't believe in coalition governments. I believe in the will of the Canadian people. I believe if you're a opposition party,
act like an opposition party.
Act like one. And that's all there is to it.
I don't know. I think like maybe on certain things, just for example, say the Liberals and the NDP were both really gung-ho about the environment, and their voters know that they're really gung-ho about the environment, then it would be expected that they would always vote together on certain environmental policies. But to vote together on absolutely everything just to keep the Liberals in power and just to stave off an election, I know it's constitutional and I know it's happening right now, but it still feels wrong.
There you go. Daniel T, member with a $7 super chat. Many in their 30s, including my daughter, are struggling in this version of Canada. Heartbreaking. Yes, they are.
Yeah, 100%.
And
it's because of the Liberals. It's because they've overspent and underdelivered.
Jelly Beans with a $5 super chat. What do you figure will happen when the Liberals lose the upcoming by-election? So I don't think they're going to lose the one.
Elmwood Transcona, I don't think they were anywhere
they were never in the race
to being able to win, but
the Quebec one, if they lose that one,
that's a big problem.
Everybody, and I mean everybody, like everybody that is in the political sphere is saying all hell's going to break loose with the Liberal Party. Like we started to see like a rebellion start to build after Toronto St. Paul's, but losing a Montreal riding.
And it'll probably be to the bloc.
That is a really bad loss.
That is a really bad loss.
Trudeau,
I really hope it happens because Parliament will be sitting by that point.
Oh yeah, and
Pierre's going
to be like, so Trudeau, let's talk about the by-elections.
That'll be great.
Yeah, it's going to be bad for the Liberal Party if that happens. Rob says with a $5 super chat. Also, there are whipped votes. Yeah, what Fox said. And Shed Dwelling Hermit, good to see you. Should we deport some of the immigrants that are here until we can build more homes? We can see numerous problems when there is nowhere to live.
That's a tough question because there's different class of immigrants, right? There's permanent residents. There's people who have their citizenship, which obviously we cannot deport anybody like that because like they live here. There's temporary students. Should we send some students home?
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, it really depends. If they're going to like an actual legit university, then probably not. If they're going to one of these little strip mall colleges that somebody spun up just to take money, then, I think we need to be stricter in terms of what passes for post-secondary education. And maybe that we don't permit people to go to those programs from overseas or from Canada either. Maybe we just shut them down. I don't know.
I think the answer to that question is maybe. But to my earlier point, I think you need to stop the amount of immigrants coming in now. And again, the immigrants aren't the problem. The policy is the problem.
Right. It's not the people, it's the government. And that's something we all need to really, really keep in mind.
So I think you need to stop that. Then you can look at what do we have? And what would we need to do in order to, stabilize what we have? And then if the answer is, well, in order to stabilize what we have, we need to lose X amount of people, then you need to start having that conversation. And then you need, the next part of that conversation is, okay, who? And how is that demographic, divided? And then you get into some really uncomfortable conversations, but this is why these people are supposedly paid what they are, because they need to make these tough decisions. So we'll see what happens.
It's interesting, though. I've heard more than one story on Reddit where they are clamping down on visas, like visitor visas, and telling people that, well, we think that if you come here that you'll never leave. Like there was a young lady, I want to say out of Singapore, that was trying to come to her sister's wedding here in Canada. And I mean, she has a home in Singapore. She has a good job in Singapore. Like her life is in Singapore. She just wants to come to her sister's wedding, and they denied her visa. So it seems to me like they are clamping down on like even temporary migration, but maybe they're not clamping down on the right ones, because again, if you've got somebody whose life is in Singapore and wants to come to their sister's wedding for 2 weeks.
But they're still letting students in.
Yeah, but they're just letting people across the border. I know Roxham Road is closed, but
there's other rocks.
I don't know. There's this whole system's a mess. You know, like Sean Fraser screwed up our immigration department, and now he's screwing up our housing department.
Yeah. Let's just get through these last ones quickly. Stephen C. with a $5 super chat. I can't wait till Pierre gets sworn in as PM. The party in Ottawa is going to be epic.
Will.
It's going to be epic across the country, I think.
100%.
Ravis Hayes with a $5 super chat. If you want to make the biggest impact, honestly, municipal has the most effect on people's day-to-day. That is true.
That is true.
Will Kowalchuk with a $2 super chat. You're welcome at my place anytime. Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, Will.
Let us know when the next bonfire is. The dude with a $5 super chat. Do you think the 11 MPs will be named before the election?
I don't know.
My guess is not. My guess is not.
I hope so, but probably not. I'm hoping that at least Justice Hogue gets those names, and then she'll be able to decide whether or not it's prudent for the public to know.
And the Conservatives need to be reminding them every single day that they're not releasing those names.
Yeah.
Jim Devlin with a $2 super chat. What do you think about Bill C-21? We haven't looked at Bill...
Gun bill?
C-21 in depth for a little bit.
Yeah, I know it's familiar because I know we've looked at it, but I don't recall what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's the firearms one.
Firearms bill. You know what? Canadians who are responsible firearms owners should be permitted to own their firearms responsibly. I mean, Barnaby is a firearms enthusiast. You know, people hunt for their food. If you're going to be responsible, absolutely you should be able to own a firearm.
Well, again, it's an easy question because, as we said before, look at the data. Does the data indicate that responsible firearms owners are the problem that has led to violent crime increasing? No, they are not.
No, it's guns coming in from the U.S.
So,
illegal guns coming in from the U.S. That's the problem.
Well, and it's also bail reform. That's the other problem.
That too.
So I think it's a piece of garbage. And that's going to be repealed too, by the way. Ravisades with a $5 super chat. It isn't just the overspend and underdeliver. It's also the inherent anti-business policies and ethics violations. It's a mess. Yes,
yeah, it is a mess. It's really time to get rid of this government.
Ravisades with another $5 super chat. It's okay. Just get a visitor visa in the U.S. and just cross the border. Well, that's it.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Jilly Beans with a $5 super chat. When someone decides to cut ties with where they live, crossing the border is harder to do. Speaking from personal experience, but I was going to the U.S. Indeed.
Yeah.
And Cheryl Shields, welcome to NP Supported. Thank you very much. And Yevon Goudreau with a $10 super chat. I recommend that everyone watch Clyde Do Something's newest video with the two Indian fellows. And
awesome.
Shed Dwelling Hermit with a $5 super chat. Thank you. I know it's a tough question. Great stream as usual. Have a
good snooze.
Good snooze, I guess. So, okay, I think we've probably come to the end.
We do want to say thank you to our friend Construction Cronies for these awesome t-shirts that he gave us. So we got to meet Construction Cronies on, what day was it? Wednesday? No, it wasn't Wednesday. It was Thursday. And Construction Cronies has been a friend of Northern Perspective probably since we started. He was one of the very first YouTube channels to reach out to us and offer us some help and advice and just general encouragement. So Chris, if you're watching, thank you very, very much. We had an awesome day on Thursday, and our little boy kept asking to go back. So hopefully we'll see you again.
So thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.